You're listening to the Integrative Health Simplified podcast with Kari, Coody, Pharmacist turned Integrative Health Practitioner. Here we talk all things straightforward and honest when it comes to holistic health and simplifying your best steps forward while eliminating all the gimmicks and confusion. Leave the overwhelm at the door and get ready for impactful action steps that get to the real root of your issue and actually move the needle in your health. Let's dive into the show. Hey friend, and welcome back in to yet another episode of Integrative Health Simplified podcast. I'm Kari, your host, and we are in episode 7 of season 1. And so we are still in the series, Simple Swaps for Your Regular Routine. And this is actually the ending episode of that series. And the hope of the first 7 episodes in this series that I'm doing is to just really set a good foundation in your health. I talk about various foundational things to our health, such as good nutrition, movement, hydration, rest, managing stress, those types of things. And as you move on in your health and kind of increase in your knowledge and all of these things, sometimes these simple swaps can really seem very mundane and like they don't really necessarily do a whole lot, right? We need something more. However, I continue to come back to these things time and time again. The more that I learn, the more that I take action in my own health. I find that these foundational things really do make a huge difference. And so that's why I wanted to start out with this series. And so last but not least in the series is this episode, and we're going to talk about our health extremes, the answer. And I wanted to make sure I included an episode like this because this is one foundational type of thing that often gets left out, right? When we think health, we think of all the things that we do or don't do. However, the way we approach it with our mindset and our thoughts can really make the biggest difference because that really affects how we show up every day. It affects how we approach these different things in our health. And I find that oftentimes that is the missing piece whenever people feel really stuck or they've been doing all the things yet not really seeing the results that they want. I always come back to mindset and how they're approaching their health, especially for someone that finds themselves in this kind of yo-yo mentality, right? They'll do good, then they'll fall off the wagon, then they'll want to do good. You know, all of those type of people. And if you're one of those, so much understanding for you. And I totally understand what you're going through, but I want to hopefully shift your mindset a little bit with this episode. So first, I just want to share my experience with extremes because I definitely have a lot of them. So I wouldn't say that I'm a perfectionist. However, if I learn something new or if I, have something that I want to tackle in my health, I just go all in. I'll just put it that way, right? And so I think my journey with extremes started probably 10 to 12 years ago. That was right around the time that I was trying to conceive, and I realized that like the things that I was putting in my body really made a difference. And so, of course, when I realized that, like I was all in. And so I think the first extreme thing that I did was I did the Daniel fast, and that was biblically related. It was only eating vegetables and drinking water for, I think I did it for either 7 or 10 days. It was a long time ago, so I can't actually remember. I could have actually done the 21 day. Anyway, it was for a while only eating those things, and I just remember feeling really great afterwards. And I was like, man, I just want to continue this. And so that sort of led into, okay, now I'm just going to be vegan. I'll eat a few other things than just vegetables, but I'm just going to be vegan. And so I started, or continued, I should say, that for about 6 months. And then it turned into, I'll just be vegetarian. And, and I slowly started adding meat back in, over the course of that year in the next year. But that one experience of the extreme of cutting out anything but, having water and vegetables really sent me on down a rabbit hole, I guess you will, of different diets. And so Again, it was the Daniel fast, it was vegan, it was vegetarian, it was paleo, Whole30. Like I have done all of those things. And I even wrote a cookbook with my sister on Whole30. So you can understand like how invested I was in this, because I thought that was the answer. People just need to cut these things out from their diet that are not good. And that was, the story. And so that's how I lived for, I would say, a good 6 to 8 years, just being super strict and learning, a lot about ingredients, a lot about different foods and, why we shouldn't eat them and all of those things. And so I was definitely in the mentality of it's better to be extreme about, sticking to a certain diet or a certain lifestyle, just like it was going to be my future. Like I fully believe that. And I felt good, and I'm just the type of person that when I set my mind to something, I just do it. And I'll be honest, like I didn't really struggle as much with like doing good for a month and then falling off the wagon. Now, certainly I had times where I would, in my eyes, not do as good. However, I'm just a really like disciplined routine person. That's just kind of my bend. And so health extremes are really easy for me, which might have been a good and a bad thing. So, I think it was about 3 years ago, I decided, refined sugar, it had all these just negative, effects to your body. And so I'm just going to cut refined sugar out. That was kind of the last straw with my extreme mindset. And I went about 2 years eating zero refined sugar. Like, yes, I would have sauces that maybe had different refined sugar in it. I would have, honey or maple syrup, natural type sugars, but I did not have any refined sugar in like a dessert or anything like that. So I just remember missing out on a lot. And at the time, I could do it and it wasn't like a big deal, but I just remember thinking, well, I guess I'll just never have ice cream at the beach with my kids again because this is just my lifestyle now. And so I'm not saying that it had, yes, it had health benefits to not eat, processed things and sweet things. However, I definitely think there was some joy that was missing there that I didn't really realize. And so it wasn't until about a year ago that I started to learn maybe all sugars aren't bad. Maybe our body does need more sugar than I was giving it, because I really wasn't eating a lot of fruit either. And so I started to slowly learn that maybe some of the extreme mentality and actions that I had taken really weren't serving me very well. And so I want to share that one side of the extremes with you, of somebody that is really disciplined and has cut out a lot of things for a lot of years and realized, okay, maybe it actually wasn't as good as I thought, for my health, because I was still having issues. It wasn't like I was in perfect health, specifically digestive issues. And I was thinking, what else do I need to cut out? But that's one side of the coin. The other side is someone that can't seem to stick with these health extremes and feel like they're a failure. And so they don't do anything. And so I want to talk about that right now. And I actually want to use an analogy that one of my good friends used recently on one of her posts. Her name is Clara and her handle is Redemptive Health. She's a great follow if you don't follow her already. But she talked about the two ways to approach your health habits. One way is the light switch and one way is the dimmer switch. And so I feel like a lot of people approach health with the light switch mentality. I'm either going to be all in or I'm going to be all out. And so that's what I kind of want to speak to right now. And she really put it super well in this post. I'll actually link to it in the description and the show notes. But she just talks about how just because you can't do something perfectly doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it at all. And even the imperfect action still counts. And I feel that this is 100% spot on that I see with a lot of clients. And I would say you usually fall into one of the two camps. You're either more like me and are really good at extremes and just take action, even though it's not perfect, but you're still within that, restrictive nature, I guess. Or you're either in, if I can't do it 100%, I'm not going to do it at all. And so I think we can meet somewhere in the middle. I think these extremes, while I won't say they didn't serve me, I just think they can be really damaging to the way that we approach health. And I think ultimately we can lose out on a lot of the joy that God has for us. We just lose out on a lot of the joy in the journey, in the everyday, because a lot of these extremes are futuristic based, of course. I'm going to cut out X, Y, and Z thing. I'm going to do this really intense workout program, whatever it might be, because I want X, Y, and Z result. And while those 30-day programs or 60-day programs, they're not all bad. Certainly not. If you're eating complete junk and you go to eating whole foods, that's a win. However, a lot of these things aren't sustainable. And so what I find is the more that we feel like we need to be in an extreme to do anything for our health, that's really where these can be really damaging, and it can really deter someone to finding what works best for them, creating healthy habits that last, and really having joy through the whole process, and not waiting to be happy with your body when it looks smaller or whenever you get rid of X, Y, and Z symptom, etc. That's what I feel like are sort of the darker side of these health extremes. And to be honest, they are everywhere. And I think because I've been in a lot of those health extremes, I can definitely pick them out now. I have like radar vision for that. And so, if you feel like, whether you're in either one of these camps, I would just encourage you to have a lot more grace for yourself, and realize that, yes, our actions do matter. However, are they stealing your joy? God wants joy for us every day, and He wants us to really lean on Him for the change that we want to see, and not only feel like it's up to us, because that's a lot of times what we do when we enter into some of these extreme health programs or whatnot. It really is taking health into our own hands, which isn't always a bad thing. However, I think we leave God out of a lot of it. And so I know that He's just really changed my heart. He's softened my approach. Thank the Lord. He has helped me to help others have grace for themselves and to really celebrate the small things. That's one of my kind of values and goals is, I call it just 1 degree. You can read more about it on my About page on my website. I'll link that also below if you just want to read more about my story. But really celebrating small changes and wins because they're lasting. That's really what lasts anyway. And to really just focus on what's going right versus what's going wrong. A lot of times we only tend to focus on those things. So I just want to encourage you with this today. And if you find yourself in this extreme mentality of I either need to be all in or, I'm not going to have any results, or I'm just not going to do anything, or whether you find yourself like me and you're really good at extremes, but they're not really serving you that well anymore. Maybe they were just for a season. I'm not saying those things didn't serve me. I think they did. However, I think I stayed in them too long. I think extremes and kind of doing stricter things can serve you for a short time. However, it's the long term that I'm more so thinking about, because I want you to get to a place where you have food freedom and you have freedom in your health, and you don't feel so chained to sticking on, all of your regimen or routine, or else you're just going to, it's all going to go down the drain. I think that's a lie. And so I just want to encourage you with this. I would love to have more conversations with you about this. You can always reach out to me via the different ways that I have linked for you in the show notes and in the description of this video. But before I hop off, I just wanted to share something that has been really transformative for a lot of people. And if you really struggle with this mentality and just maybe negative thoughts about yourself or just this extreme mentality, I want to encourage you to check out the Wellness Principles Guide that myself and Amanda, someone that I work with, we made it together. And there's this, one of the principles is mindset and how we approach our health. And Amanda is amazing at helping people unpack this. And what are the stories that we're telling ourselves? How do we see ourselves? all of those types of things that can really hold us back. She is amazing at helping you see things in a different light. She's so gentle and she's so patient in her, in the way that she works with people. And so the guide is something that is a series of videos and a few questions specifically on mindset that she has recorded in advance for you, to just have as a resource. So if that's a really great place for you to start, I will link that for you and you can check that out. But if you're like, yeah, I really want to invest in this. Like, I know it's going to be a process, but I really want to invest. Then our Renewed program might be a really great place for you to start, or to continue, I should say. And Renewed is a wellness collaboration with Amanda and myself. And it's a 5-month program that we've put together where you have 2 calls a month with her and 1 call a month with me. And we just dig in and we get to know each other, and we get to really dig deep with each other and change your mindset and change some of the lifestyle things that are maybe holding you back, and look to see what's going on underneath the surface. That's kind of my job. And Amanda's is more of the unpacking the mental and spiritual and emotional. And so if that feels like something that, yes, you would love it, I'm going to put the link for that also so you can check it out. It's a program that we run twice a year, and we start that in January and it runs to May. And then there's one that starts in July and runs to November. So if you feel like that's something you want to check out, I will put the link in there for you. But any questions at all that you have, I would be more than happy to have a conversation with you. And so reach out whichever way is best for you. And I will see you guys on the next episode. If this episode has served you in any way, I would love it if you'd share any aha moments or takeaways over on Instagram and tag me at Kari Coody. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button so we can continue to learn and grow together.